Well, how's it going, everybody? This is Dylan. Obviously, this is my personal Facebook page. I want to talk just for a few minutes this morning. I made a post yesterday, and it sparked a lot of conversation. So it's very, very cool, very interesting conversation to have. But what we're going to talk about is why what you say on the internet matters, and really the importance of a personal brand and why all of that kind of works together. Um, and we're going to talk about some things because this might be a new concept for a lot of people who are, use internet for, social reasons and stuff like that. But we're going to kind of discuss how this kind of all works together and the reason why I made that post. It's a very interesting thing, okay? You may have not heard a whole lot about this term, or you may have not have heard this term personal brand a whole lot. Um, the people that are really going to be interested in this are people that are trying to make a living using anything that they do themselves. Okay. However, what's very interesting about it is we all have personal brands. When I say you have a personal brand, I have a personal brand, it's whatever people think of when they think of your name. That's your personal brand. Now, the only difference between somebody like me and somebody else could be the amount of dependence that I put on my personal brand to make a living. Okay. Now, you may not put that much dependence on that personal brand with your job. Let's say you work a 9 to 5 job for a particular company, and no big deal, and you can post whatever you want on Facebook, and everything is fine. In varying degrees, though, more and more people are really starting to depend on their personal brand for income opportunities, for all kinds of opportunities. It's really interesting because the internet has created a need for all of us to be more worried about our personal brand. I'll give you an example. If you are not an entrepreneur, if you don't have your own business, you may say, well, I don't really identify with this. But I'll give you an example. Even if you work a 9 to 5 job somewhere, let's say you work somewhere that's a fairly large company, and it may already have happened and you don't even realize it, that your boss has already went and looked at your Twitter and your Facebook and your Instagram to see what kind of a person you are and what kind of person, what kind of things you're posting on the internet. And you might say, well, that's a little bit invasive to my rights. But here's where it kind of crosses over. I gave this example on a Facebook post earlier this morning. You could say whatever you want on Facebook, right? That is your personal brand. But what if you're wearing your company logo in the video and then now you associate your employer with your opinion? Now, all of a sudden, you are mixing brand with the person that you work for. They're going to be very concerned about that. That means that your personal brand matters to you, even if you don't work for yourself, if you work for somebody else. So this all matters. This thing, how we put ourselves on the internet on a daily basis, matters to everyone. And what's interesting about it is people get uh, very personal about it. Like, yeah, that's my privacy. Well, there's a couple things there. One is, if you're on Facebook and if you're on YouTube and if you're on Instagram and if you're on Snapchat, you can't be super concerned about privacy, because go read all of the fine print and you'll find out that if you choose to use these various pieces of social media, that you are in public, period. There is no privacy. So don't think that you're protecting a particular part of your privacy versus not, because you've actually made a choice to be public. So here's what I say. In the interest of developing my personal brand, I'm embracing it. That's why I cook breakfast on the internet. I'm embracing the fact that everybody knows who I am. And what's very interesting about that is it does a couple of things. It exposes people, because it's almost like being drunk, right? Like, if you're drunk, that's really who you are, and you're trying to hide it the rest of the time, but you can't because your ambitions are down. Facebook and social media are kind of the same way. So people be themselves because they're behind a screen. They don't have the fears of a personal interaction. And some people may say, well, that's a very negative thing. However, since we are all exposed, we can use that to our advantage, and say, you know what, I'm going to show people who I really am. I am going to take my personal brand and I am going to present myself to the world, and I have to be honest about it. Because with social media, I can't make a picture. I can't put a bunch of $100 bills on my bed and say that I'm rich. It doesn't work like that. That sort of stuff does get exposed. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be on the internet. I'm going to create this picture to the world that I can show people who I really am. Why is that important? The reason it's important is because the internet has created a situation where the middleman is gone. So if you play guitar, for instance, and you want to make a living playing guitar, you no longer have to go get a record deal. You no longer have to get all that stuff. You can just make a video on Instagram, create your personal brand, present yourself to the world, and show people what you do. It empowers our creative, all of us. All of us who are creators in any way, it empowers us to be able to do that. Whether you have an opinion on something, whether you have a viewpoint, whether you want to share, it doesn't matter. It empowers us to be able to do that. Well, here's where it gets kind of interesting, because as we start to depend on that personal brand to make a living, I'll give you an example. It's real easy. Dylan Talks Tone, the Dylan brand. And now the Dylan brand is actually expanding. We're doing a lot of stuff. The Dylan brand, I don't have a hat on right now, but it is expanding. And that means that I am concerned with everything that I put my name on. I want to make sure that I can present a good, positive, accurate picture of the world, of who we are as a business, who I am as a person, and associate myself with people that move my business along in a positive way. Even if you don't have a business, if you're just a person who plays some videos on Instagram and who wants to forward your career, which people say, well, playing guitar on Instagram is not a career. It is, because you have been empowered by the internet to do it, and you can do it. So that means that you need to be concerned with how you present yourself to the world. So let's take, for example, this particular thing that I posted yesterday. This is an example of, and we're not going to get into the politics or the opinions or anything that is related to this example. If you'll recall, I shared this yesterday. This is where D'Addario saw an artist, their guitar string company. They saw an artist that they felt did not have views that aligned with theirs, and they ditched that artist. And people jumped in an outrage saying, well, why can't they have their own opinion? Everybody can have their own opinion. We all have our own personal brand. This is where it gets a little interesting. The personal brand that I have is different than yours because we're different people. Our opinions are different. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion, because people will say, well, that's going to sterilize the world if you don't let anyone voice their opinions. I have lots of opinions. You have lots of opinions. Here's where having a personal brand and keeping yourself moving in a forward positive motion, because we all have to do this, because the internet has created this situation where we all have to do it. So here's what we do. We make a choice when we associate ourselves with another company. So let's say you call me and you say, I would like to endorse your product because I love what you do. And I say, well, let's start talking about it. The very first thing I'm going to do, just like your boss does, is I'm going to go look at their Facebook, I'm going to go look at their Twitter, I'm going to go look at their YouTube, and I'm going to see if what they are doing aligns with my business model and the goals for my company. Now, that does not mean that I agree with everything that they say and do. That does not mean that I agree with every part of their lifestyle that has nothing to do with me. That does not mean that I agree with every one of their political or religious views. That has nothing to do with it. What it does mean, though, is that I can say, you know, the way you present yourself to the world, you're a pretty angry guy. And I don't like how that would make me look if you had one of my shirts playing one of my guitars. I don't care about your opinion. You can have an opinion all you want. But remember that when you're working with another company, you are representing them. Just like your boss. You can have an opinion on the internet. But then you put one of their hats on. If I said something terrible and Chad Reed wanted to call me right now because I'm wearing a 22 hat, I could understand why he would be upset. Or Hard Rock Cafe, because I have this right here. They would get on Twitter and say, he said something stupid, and we just want everybody to know we had nothing to do with that. When we start associating ourselves with a brand, then they do. They have the right to say, you know what, you and I we don't present a picture of ourselves to the world in the same way, and I'm not going to be associated with you anymore because of that. And somebody's going to say, I saw somebody on Facebook say this morning, well, if they can't afford a guitar string, then it doesn't matter. It's just a guitar string deal. But what it is actually is it's a method of how they present themselves and their personal brand to the world. Okay? Because as we're putting together, me as a Instagram creator, as a YouTube creator, and as a guitar company, I have to build this positive image to the world and show people this is who we really are, this is what we do, and I would like you to come along for the ride by supporting me, watching my videos, my products, and all that sort of stuff. If you disagree with me, that's fine. That's okay. If I say something that, and this is a very cool part about the way the internet works, is you have 100% control of your audience and demographic. So what that means is it's not like it used to be. The internet has given you 100% control of your audience and your demographic. So what that means is I can say, I don't like such and such. I could almost say it on purpose. And then I can purposely alienate this group of people. Or I can accidentally alienate this group of people. Do I depend on this group of people for the furtherance of my business and all of my goals? Well, if I depend on that group of people, that demographic, then I'm going to shy away from saying anything that offends them. Not because I'm giving up rights and all this kind of stuff, but because I like those people. I want those people to be a part of what I'm doing. I'm inviting them to be part of this train that I'm building, this train that I'm on. I want them to be a part of it. So why would I say something to purposely or accidentally alienate a particular group of people? I'm trying to grow my reach, grow my audience, and grow my influence on the internet by the things that I say and do. As a guitar player, as a creator, as somebody who is looking for endorsement deals, as somebody who is depending on those endorsement deals and growing those, it might just be a string deal, it might just be a couple free sets a month, but that can grow. As that personal brand grows, that influence and that reach grows, it gets more and more and more and more powerful. The next thing you know, you don't have a real job anymore, and all you're doing is playing guitar on videos on Instagram. That's what we all want to have happen for those of us that are reaching towards those more creative goals and less out of the normal 9-to-5 thing. So it's just an interesting perspective. We're not giving up rights. This is not meant to be some sort of, I don't want to say, this is not a socio-political thing post, as much as it is understanding that what we say and how we introduce ourselves to the world will have an effect on the picture that people have of us. The difference then comes on the back end when we go to depend on that picture that we've created for ourselves. I depend greatly on it. I depend a lot on my personal brand. And of course, obviously, I put my name on everything. And if you don't depend on it that much, then it's possible that you are freer to have opinions and voice them in various ways that people that depend on that personal brand more do not. But that's a choice, right? That's not a freedom getting taken away or given. That's actually just a choice saying, you know what? I'm going to be a little more chill so that my audience will grow and that I can have more people that do what I do in my life. Whether I agree with every little thing that they do or not, I'm just going to be chill. But that's a choice. And it's a very interesting one, given the fact that we have the power of the internet to be able to do the things we want to do and to be able to do it in this new world of creativity and reach in the world. So my name is Dylan. Obviously, this is my Facebook. This isn't even on a Dylan Talks Tone thing, but I wanted to share a little bit more about that. It's not a negative thing. It's a positive thing, being able to have the power of that reach in our own hands if we understand how personal branding works. If you have any questions about it or want to understand how you can build your personal brand, let me know, because that's one of the things that Leslie and I do with other people too, is help them to be able to have a further reach and maybe step out of the norm and be able to do something a little different. That's my thoughts on it for today. I hope everybody has a good one. We'll talk to you all soon.